Today, the topic of discussion is soft skills, and I know when you hear that word or words, soft skills, it's kind of like, well, what is that? When we're caring for people, especially in an environment like Grace House, we want others to know that they can trust and depend on us as caregivers that are taking care of them in their last days. So ways that we can do that would be making sure that we're coming to work ready, we're coming to work prepared, we're coming to work professional, where our mindsets are, where our hearts are, how we communicate with one another. These are all things that equate to soft skills and what you're going to learn about today. Hi, I'm Candy Hilton. I'm the RN House Manager here at Grace House, and today we are going to do presentations on soft skills. So there are 4 modules, and the first module we are going to discuss is professional appearance and workplace presence. So some of the things that we want to accomplish when we go through this material in this first module is why appearance matters, standards for dress and hygiene, professional body language, and making a positive first impression. These are all things that matter when a new resident comes to our home and we are introducing ourselves and starting to take care of them. So just a few questions that we'll start off with. When we talk about first impressions, what is your first impression? What is one thing you notice first when you meet someone new? What's the first thing that comes to mind when you first meet someone new?
For me, it's their personality, how welcoming they are, also how put together they are. I think that really plays a part in kind of the professional role is, if they're in uniform, if their hair is pulled back, and if they just kind of have a welcoming tone to their voice.
Good.
Well, the first thing I notice is, are their clothes neat and clean? And do they have a scraggly beard, or is their hair neat and tidy? Their clothes clean.
Those are all great things, and I think those are honest answers that a lot of times some people may not admit that, but those are things that you kind of take into consideration when you first meet someone new. This probably sounds really crazy, but one of the things that I notice outside of the things that you just mentioned are fingernails. I always look to see if somebody has dirt up under their fingernails. Isn't that crazy? But that is just something that, I don't know, it always kind of struck me as, are they grooming, are they taking care of themselves as part of, are they taking care of their nails?
Also, are they friendly?
Correct. I think that goes along with what Kellen was saying about the welcoming spirit that someone has, so that friendliness. So just a couple things to keep in mind. First impressions form in less than 7 seconds, which is amazing to think that. So when you put yourself in the place of a resident or a family member, residents and families equate neat appearance with competence and trust. So if you're what you all described as being neat, your clothes groomed well, you're groomed well, that equates to them that, okay, I can trust this person. I know that they know what they're doing. Where the competence is. So hygiene is part of safety because of the infection control. So if you see someone with messy clothes and kind of dingy and all of that, that may show someone else that maybe they're not as clean. And because hygiene is a part of our safety, that's something that we want to make sure that we're alluding to. So let's discuss appearance and perception. How would you feel if you had a caregiver that came to work in stained clothes, messy hair, or smelling of smoke, how would that cause you to feel? And what would you feel?
I probably, like you said, wouldn't trust them as much. If, they can't take care of themselves necessarily, how are they supposed to take care of me also? I'm someone who, takes pride in trying to be clean, and, that's something that I wouldn't want myself to smell of or look like. So I hope that they would take a little bit more pride in, make me look nice.
I would think that they don't care about themselves. So if they don't care about themselves, how are they going to care about me?
Very good. Very good. I think those are both excellent answers, and I think you're exactly right. I often think when I first started nursing, 10 years ago, we had to wear white uniforms. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You had to wear white from head to toe, and I can always remember my mom would always tell me, when you wash the white, how to wash it so it didn't look dingy. And there were some nurses that after so long and so many times of washing, even though it was clean, it had this dingy look to it, and it just didn't look professional. It kind of like what you're saying, Crystal, if it looks that way, how are they going to take care if they don't care how they look? How are they going to take care of me and care about how I look or how I feel? So all of those things are accurate. So some standards and expectations that we at Grace House we do have for our caregivers. As far as uniforms, we do encourage our caregivers to wear scrubs. It usually is a little more comfortable, but even if it's a Grace House t-shirt and uniform pants, that's fine. Wearing closed-toe shoes is also important. I know a lot of times when the weather gets warmer outside, we tend to want to wear, some sandals or something like that. But if you're doing direct patient care, direct resident care, it's always for your safety and the other person's safety for you to wear closed-toe shoes. So no slippers, no slide-ons, no sandals that may have open toes, because if something dropped on your foot would be exposed. You could get injured. Also wearing an ID name badge. We supplied all of these name badges for our caregivers, and I think it's important to wear it. I've been trying to wear mine a little more, even though the caregivers are expected to write on the whiteboards in the rooms their name and the date and the day of the week. It's also another reminder for the resident that they can just see this on your clothing and know, okay, this is Candy, she is house manager, or as a caregiver, this is Crystal, caregiver. And Crystal, you do a real good job. You wear yours that they had made for you when you first got here. So it just is that added layer of professionalism, but also for the residents to see and know who's taking care of them. There's a lot of new people that they meet on a day in and day out basis. As far as hygiene expectations, clean nails, trim nails, hair should be pulled back or pulled up, no strong fragrances. And this is all basic information. Professional body language. We want to make sure that we have good eye contact, posture, and calm tone. So not being aggressive. And sometimes those aggressive mannerisms can come forth if you think that you are defending yourself in any way, but really making sure that you're putting yourself in a position where you don't have to feel like you're defending, listening to the residents, listening to the families, setting boundaries when you need to, but just staying calm. So professional presence, and this leads us into the professional presence, having a calm tone, having eye contact, the posture. So some examples would be greeting residents or families warmly. I think you all mentioned that. Being calm, respectful tone, even when you're stressed. So when those times come where a resident may be verbally aggressive, saying things or doing things that maybe need some boundary setting, that can make you stressful, but even in that moment, staying calm and being respectful to them, even with setting the boundaries, and listening with a full attention. So, we do have a role play. Meet the family member. So this is just a time for you to practice a professional introduction. So ask yourself or your partner, how did they look, sound, professional? So, Kaylin, since you are in nursing school, we'll have you introduce yourself to Crystal, your resident, and just how you would first enter the room and introduce yourself and your role.
Okay. So I would knock on your door and then I'd say, "Good morning, Crystal. My name is Kellen. I'm going to be your caregiver today. How are you feeling today? Is there anything I can do for you?" Yeah.
And so, Crystal, with how she said that, how did that make you feel? What were key things that you noticed based on what she said and how she
I would say
interacted?
that she was warm and welcoming,
Good.
very polite.
Very polite. And you left the conversation knowing her name,
Yes,
her role,
yes,
and what she was going to do.
yes.
Okay. Very good. Any key takeaways that either one of you may have? We have 3 here. Appearance plus presence equals trust. Hygiene equals safety. And professional presence builds respect. Is there anything that you maybe took from this that maybe will help you as you move forward caring for others?
No, she got all of them.
Okay. Okay. All right. So reflection for each of us to think about is, what is one small change you could make tomorrow to improve your professional appearance or presence?
I know I am someone who is guilty of sometimes not always having my hair back. So definitely something, that's just, I tend to do it before I walk into a room or something. So just putting it up when I get in the morning is one less step that I have to do later.
That's good.
I can't think of anything. I think her hair is fine. I think she could be a little louder
Okay.
for
Okay.
the people that's hard of hearing.
Okay. Okay. And I'm sure when you're in that setting, like actually, but I remember when I was in nursing school, one thing, like they were kind of strict. Like we could not have our hair hanging down, because if you go to bend over to do anything, if it's a confused patient, that patient can pull on your hair. Earrings, same thing. Like I would never wear these if I was out on the floors. We had to wear stud earrings where it was nothing that was dangling that they could pull on. And then if you think about doing anything like wound care, anything like that, even washing someone up, your hair can fall and kind of get in places that it shouldn't be. So it's just a good practice. But those are good examples. Thank you. Thank you. So we're going into Module 2, which is effective workplace communication. Now, I had someone tell me years ago, communication at its best is difficult. So it's something that it can be difficult to make sure that you're clearly communicating, and sometimes people can take what you say in a different way than what you intended. So the objectives of this module is to describe the basics of respectful, clear communication in the workplace, demonstrate active listening skills, which is a huge part of communication, speaking clearly and respectfully, professional digital communication, and handling conflict calmly. So those are the things we hope to achieve with this module. So why communication matters? Clear communication is equivalent to fewer mistakes, better teamwork. Families feel more secure when communication is respectful. That gives them a certain amount of groundedness that they need, especially when someone in their life is at the end of life. And then communication matters because misunderstandings cause stress and conflict. And we all know that. It just causes so much angst. So good communication is at the heart of great caregivers. So active listening. I know a lot of times when someone is communicating, you tend to want to start thinking about what you're going to say and how you're going to respond to the person. So one of the things that we, in any arena of our life, but especially as caregivers, stop what you're doing in that moment. Make eye contact with the person to really hone in on what they're saying and listen to what they're saying. And not just listen with your ears, but listen with your heart. Because a lot of times we're just listening and, like I said, trying to get a rebuttal. How am I going to respond to this person? So one of the ways that you can do this is by repeating back or summarizing what you heard the person say. And it could be what you think they said, but that way you can ask clarifying questions to them if that's not what they meant. So we have a listening practice. Haha. So partner exercise. One person is going to share, and we can do it for like 30 seconds. It doesn't have to be a full minute, but just share something, and then the other person is going to be the one that's listening. And that listener is then going to repeat back in their own words what they heard the person speaking say. And then we'll switch roles and kind of see how that experience was.
I'll share.
Okay.
Yesterday I came into work and I thought I was going to be able to do my job. But when I got here, I was short of breath and I wasn't able to. And so my boss took me to the urgent care facility, and now I feel much better.
Okay.
I'm so sorry to hear that you were feeling out of breath, but it was very kind of your boss to, step aside from a role really quick and be able to take you to the urgent care. I'm glad that you're feeling better now.
Thank you.
Good. So Crystal, how did you feel after Kellen was able to share with you what she heard you say?
It made me feel valued as a person because she paid attention to what I was saying.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Very good. All right. So we'll have you switch.
Okay.
And then we'll go on to the next.
Okay. All right. So this whole week, I have finals next week. I also have a son, and I also do all of the housework, so I've been feeling very stressed out. However, my fiance was very kind enough to take off a couple days. He saw me kind of struggling, and he's kind of picked up where I've kind of fallen behind in some things. So I'm feeling a little more relieved. I'm feeling ready for finals. So very thankful for that.
Okay, what I heard you say was that you have upcoming finals, and that you have fallen behind in your housework, but that your fiance is picked up and helping you out with your son and your housework, and it gave you some time to help you out with your time to do your finals and relieved you of your stress.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Excellent. So how did that make you feel, Kellen?
It made me feel heard, and that I'm not kind of overplaying the situation, that it's valid for me to feel that way. So thank you for listening.
I love that. I love the two words. You said valued. You said you felt valued, and you said you felt that what you said was valid. Like, those are great. And I think those are things that we have to keep in mind when we're talking to residents and or family members, even if it's something that they're saying that we may not agree with or can see from their perspective, to be able to hear them and allow them to feel those same things. So, very good. Okay, so the next part of this would be making sure that you speak clearly and respectfully. So using calm and polite tones so that you're not coming across, harsh or aggressive. Be specific and clear. As you mentioned earlier, Crystal, sometimes people may have difficulty hearing, so making sure that you're saying things clearly, but then also loud enough. So being specific and clear, saying something like, I need help transferring Mrs. B at 12 p.m. rather than, can you help me later? That's not really specific, because my later and your later may be two different things. So just being specific when you're communicating. And then avoiding gossiping or negative talk. I know a lot of times as caregivers, and even as the house manager, we have to discuss things about our residents and or family members. And it's not to be negative or to be gossiping, but just so that everybody is kind of on the same page, knowing what difficulties there may be residing with the family members as well as the residents. But when it gets into the gossip and negative talk, like, that's kind of pushing that line of, well, she shouldn't be doing that and da-da-da-da-da, that's not really appropriate. But if it's things that are used and utilize information so that everyone can have a heads up as to what's going on with that person, that's a little different. But just be mindful of the gossip or negative talk. So with digital communication, this would include like emails, text messages. You always want to make sure that any of the emails that are sent out, which I know most of you as caregivers know, that is how I communicate a lot with you, whether it be heads up information, new information about residents, or if it's trainings that you have to complete. This is the way that we communicate, because everybody works different shifts. So just making sure that you stay on top of checking your emails regularly and your text messages. There may be messages that I send out as a group text to, if someone calls off, to say, hey, I need help. We need this shift covered. And whether you can do it or not, still reply back to say, nope, I'm not able to let me know that you received the message and that I need to move on to something or someone else. Respond briefly and professionally, and keep messages work related only. So for this activity, fix the message. So a poor example would be if this was a text message, which I'm not familiar with all the text lingo, but I do know what this is. IDK, if I can come to shift late, car broke. So how would you rewrite this message professionally? Whether it be a text message or an email, how would you rewrite this so that me as the supervisor would know exactly what you're meaning specifically, and it comes across a little more professionally? So any one of you can answer this. You know what the IDK is?
I don't know.
Yes. I don't know if I can come to shift late. I don't know if I can come to shift late, car broke. So how could you say that so I understand? Because this doesn't, it really, I get the gist of it, but it's not real clear. Because my late and your late could be something completely different.
Well, the first thing is that IDK is the wrong thing. The text should have been Hi, good morning, Candace. I don't know if I can make it in this morning or not. I'm having car trouble. That's more of a professional way of saying that, than I don't know.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And then along with that, I think maybe given a time frame
Yeah.
as to when.
Right, right.
Yes.
I don't know if I can come in. If I can, I try to come between, I would say like 12 and, you know, I'll try to be there by noon or something, you know. Yeah.
Yes, yes, very good. Anything else you ladies want to add to that? Crystal, you look like you got something on your
I
mind.
can't figure that second shift out.
Two
know.
shift. She just put the number 2.
Okay.
But that's why I'm saying it's
Okay.
not clear. She said, I don't know if I can come. Exactly. Two shift. So
Okay.
meaning like,
Yeah, that's throwing me.
T.O.,
I
yeah.
thought you meant second shift.
no, she
Okay.
need 2 shift, to the shift to that, yeah.
Okay.
The whole thing is unprofessional. Like you said, nobody, a lot of people, if you don't know the lingo of the languages kids talk nowadays, you'll be so confused with that.
Correct. Yeah. So it's always good so that you are always being specific, clear, and even if it's a text message, I know we want to take shortcuts on that and things, but just spelling it out so that there's no, I think that's the danger sometimes with text messaging, because it is so shortened that people are trying to abbreviate what they're thinking and saying, and then the other person is reading it and you read into it completely wrong or completely different. So so when handling conflicts, we know that the patient population that we have here with our residents, that sometimes they come from backgrounds that can be really difficult, can present difficulties when you are interacting with them. So I think it's really good. We know that we have to set healthy boundaries with them sometimes. Just keeping in mind to stay calm. If they're talking and they're going off, and I have to remind myself about this too, do not interrupt them. Just let them go. Because I know the first thing that most of us want to do, and I'm guilty of it, is that you want to insert yourself to almost defend what you've done and why you've done it, or why they need to do what they need to do. And it's like, just back off a minute, just stay calm, don't take it personal, and just allow them to say what they need to say without interrupting them. And then focus on the problem, not the person. Because if there's a situation like, for example, we have a resident right now who is very, very, very confused, and you could focus on the person and the behaviors that he's having instead of thinking that what's really the problem. The problem really is he could be going through terminal agitation right now, and it's looking like that's probably what it is. So that's the problem, and now we got to see how we can fix it. It's not him. It's just the process of what he's going through. And then maybe suggesting solutions and not blaming the person. Again, in this case, we're not going to blame him because he's behaving this way. It's not really a blame issue. This is really just let's tackle what's going on and see how his hospice nurse, hospice doctor can maybe readjust his medications, or maybe see maybe this isn't the appropriate place at this point in time. Maybe he needs further types of treatments to help his pain and symptoms get better managed. So, any questions with that? So key takeaways: listening and respect strengthen communication. Digital messages must be professional, and calm conflict resolution builds teamwork. And I think even with this last one, that's something not just with interaction between a caregiver, yourself, and a resident, or even a family member. It can be between you and another coworker to remain calm and try to resolve it. And if it can't be resolved one-on-one, then maybe going up the proper chain of command by talking to me or talking to Holly, and then we kind of working together, but that helps build teamwork, for sure. Any questions? Other takeaways that you maybe got other than these three right here? Okay. So what is one change you could make or will make in how you communicate at work this week? Is there one thing that you could maybe pinpoint that, even if it's just a slight little difference or change?
Like you said before about just, letting them finish and not trying to defend yourself. I know I'm somebody that's guilty of that, where it's, I'll cut them off of like, well, this is why you need to do
Yes,
this. So just
yes,
kind of letting them get
yes.
it out before you take that step back and explain your side.
Agreed.
What she said, and I'm going to pull back and let them finish what they have to say, and I'm going to listen more actively. Let them finish out their sentence and just, give them a chance to say what they have to say.
Sure. Very good. Anything? We're off and running on to Module 3, which is taking responsibility in your role. So some key things that we want to bring out with this module: defining what responsibility means to the caregiving workplace, recognize the impact of personal accountability on residents, families, and coworkers, identifying workplace responsibilities, which would be completing all required trainings, reliable attendance, and maintaining communication. Practice responsible decision-making, which would include finding reliable coverage in the event of emergencies. So, what does responsibility look like? What would you say responsibility looks like? Just in general.
When you're running late, being honest about the reason why you're running late and kind of taking accountability. Next time, I need to leave my house 5 minutes earlier. I'm so sorry. So things like that.
Good. Okay. All right, so showing up on time, I think that alludes to what you were saying, and if you're not able to be here on time, communicating, which goes back to the second module that we just completed. Showing up on time, reading and responding to messages. Putting yourself in the person's shoes that sends the message. If they took the time to send the message to you, then it's only polite and respectful to take the time to read it and respond back if need be. Completing mandatory trainings and following through on care tasks. Those are all ways that a caregiver could show responsibility. What happens when caregivers take responsibility? What do you think happens when a caregiver takes responsibility? Anyone can answer that.
Well, they could depend on you.
So it creates dependability in the mind of the resident, family member, co-workers. Anything else?
My brain is on one yet.
I think
It's too early.
it creates a positive environment,
Yeah, it does. It really does.
because then everybody is kind of taking responsibility the way that they should, and then you all kind of come together and you get the job done, but everybody is on one page, and I think that creates a lot of positivity. So, how it impacts when a person does not take responsibility. So, what does that look like? That could be, and we all understand life, as they say, life be life, and we understand. Call-offs happen, we understand that. But I think if it's something that happens on a regular basis, then we need to talk about that. But it can add stress to coworkers and less attention for residents, because if you're constantly trying to find someone to cover a shift, then that puts the caregiver that may be on shift before at a disadvantage and the resident, because we might be short help. So we understand call-offs happen, people get sick. If you're sick, no, we don't really want you to come to work sick like that. But I think our rule here is calling off at least, I want to say it's 1 to 2 hours before your shift. So that way, that gives us plenty of time to be able to secure somebody to come in. Another impact of not taking responsibility would be missed trainings. If you continue to not do trainings and they're sent out to you, you don't get the information and the knowledge base that you should, and taking care, that's going to help you ultimately to take care of the residents and or family members. And that could cause it to be more unsafe care than it would be safe care, because that may be information that not only is a review to you, but it could be new information that you need to know to help you do care and do it safely, or it could just be outdated. So it's always important to stay on top of those trainings. And then another impact would be ignoring messages. When you do that, it causes confusion and miscommunication between everybody. So a case example, a caregiver doesn't read the new shift note. Now we do shift notes, but we also do handoffs by giving verbal reports. But this caregiver didn't read the shift note, missed important updates about the resident's diet, and because of that, the resident received some food that they should not have. Like, say, for example, we learned that this resident is really lactose intolerant, and we shouldn't give like dairy products. But because this caregiver didn't read the note, didn't get that information, she fed the resident mac and cheese. So family and resident became very frustrated because now the resident is having abdominal cramping, bloating, gas, all of the above that you get with when you're lactose intolerant. What could have been done differently, in your opinions, to help alleviate or not have this become an issue?
They could have read that note because they could have really affected that person tremendously. What if they would have gave him what if he would have had a peanut allergy and he had a real strong reaction?
Correct.
That could have been tragic.
Correct. I think, as you were saying that, one of the things that we've really been working with all of the caregivers on is with medications. You get familiar with, especially when a resident has been here for a certain amount of time, you get familiar with, okay, well, they get their medications at 8 a.m., 2 p.m., and 8 p.m. Well, you never know when the nurse comes in to see that person if any new symptoms have come up, or if symptoms that maybe they've had and the symptoms have gotten worse. They may have changed medications, they may have changed dosings of the medications, and the timings might be different. So you can't always say, well, it was like that yesterday, or it's been like that, and think, okay, I know he gets meds at 8, 2, and 8. You always, when you come in on your shift, it's a new shift, a new day, and you're looking at that note and that med sheet as a new everything, because it could be completely different. So it's just a way to keep on top of the communication, and like you said, the safety aspect, because that could be different. And then everybody's on the same page, and then we're giving good, safe care. So accountability and action, what does that look like? Taking ownership, admitting mistakes. We are all human. I don't know that I've met anyone that is perfect. I know one person that's perfect, but you know, I can't really say that, but you know. But just admit when you make a mistake. We all make mistakes. We all fall short. We want to make sure that we're taking the proper steps to make less mistakes. But communicate early if you notice that a problem is arising. Don't just, not say anything. I think we can all deal with things better if we know up front. Ask for help instead of leaving tasks undone. So if it's something that you're completely unsure of, it's better to just ask for help. In fact, that's the best thing to do instead of just not doing it at all. Okay, role play scenarios. Miss Christina, you want to get in on this? So scenario 1, forgot to chart something important. And let's say the important might be you forgot to chart that you had given a PRN dose of oxycodone. And so the person coming on to the shift didn't know, the caregiver didn't know that it had been given and what time it had been given, so they were about to go dose that person again. Role play.
Thank you. Okay, so you said that the caregiver wouldn't report that about the medication. Well, if you forget and say you happen to remember, I think the best thing to do is to call. If you leave the facility and you're not here, to call back up to the facility, speak to whoever's in charge or whoever was the next person that came on and say, hey, I left out and I forgot to put in a report that Mr. John had his medication at 9, but I forgot to write that down. I just want to let you know before you start your shift, and you won't give him the same, give it to him again.
Yes, excellent. And it may, at least here at Grace House, I think that's good to call back, let the caregiver that's there know, and it may be an additional step to let the person on call know too,
Right.
like the administrator on call. So that way they know, because we may have to report that to the hospice if it was something that they missed. This happened a couple weeks ago. A caregiver gave a medication that was in the pill box. She gave the wrong time at the wrong time, like the 5 o'clock pill she gave at noon. And it ended up being okay, but if we had tried to give those 12 o'clocks that she misgiven at 5, it would have been too close to the 8 o'clock dose, so we couldn't give those. But I had to call and let hospice know this is what happened, because it would have been too close in time frame. So, okay. A need to call off for a legitimate reason.
I think in that scenario, calling you or whoever is in charge that day as soon as you know. So hopefully that's within that 1 to 2 hours. And just letting them know, if it's a doctor's excuse or, something that's a dire situation.
Yes.
And giving that appropriate heads up.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so some things that could be barriers to responsibility, which we talked about earlier, could be what responsibility looks like. Barriers to that could be transportation issues, childcare challenges, health problems, or feeling overwhelmed. What challenges make responsibility difficult for you, and how can you overcome those challenges? So is there anything that you think in your own walk might be a challenge that could make being responsible here at work difficult? And if so, are there things that you could do to overcome those challenges?
I'm not overwhelmed. I don't really get too overwhelmed. I don't let things overwhelm me. When it gets to be too much, I just take my time and catch my breath a little bit. Transportation, no, they love kicking me out, so I don't have no problem with that.
Okay, that's good.
I know for me, I do have a small child that's not in school yet, so that can make it difficult if his primary babysitter calls off or
Yeah.
as a reason that she can't watch him. So something that I know I do is I kind of have a list that I have made of people that are pretty reliable that I can go
Yes.
down. That,
Yes,
Yeah.
that's good for your plan Bs and plan Cs if need be. Building a culture of responsibility. So responsibility is contagious. If other people see that you are responsible, then it's just gonna, as I say, bleed over. It's just gonna go over to them. It shows supporting teammates, shows accountability, which is a part of responsibility, and everyone benefits from the reliability, because that's all factored in with responsibility, in my opinion. So some key takeaways. Responsibility equals reliability and trust. Because if I know that you're responsible, if you're showing responsibility, that's going to show me that you're a reliable person and that I can trust that Crystal is going to be here at work if she is not feeling bad. If she is feeling bad, she's going to call or she's going to text me and let me know. And small daily actions make a big difference. So just making those small changes, if you might be lacking in certain areas of responsibility, can make a huge difference and will make a huge difference. Are there any other key takeaways that you all would maybe add to that as we talk about responsibility?
I think you hit them all.
Okay. What is one responsibility at work you will commit to doing better this month? Think of anything?
I am a leave at the last minute, and that doesn't always play out to my advantage on Route 8. So
yes.
definitely, yeah.
Yes.
So definitely taking that extra 5 minutes to maybe leave the house a little earlier.
I understand, my dear. It's like you overestimate in the mornings. It's like, oh yeah, I'll get up and I'll do da-da-da-da-da. If I just do one more thing before I leave the house, and it's like, no, you need to leave now so that you can, yeah.
I was like that this morning. I was
Yeah.
estimating how long it's gonna take me to drive from my house to here. And how long I can lay in the bed. You know, I was thinking, I gotta get up yet. I think I can make it there about such a time. And I was like, get up, Christina, because you know you still have so much. You gotta get yourself dressed. You try to put something in your stuff. Get up
Yes,
now. You're gonna be late.
yes, because that clock just keep ticking.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think
it does.
the problem is procrastination. I procrastinate sometimes too long.
Yeah.
You know, I wonder like
We overestimate. We think, oh, it's not going to take that long. It'll be,
I
yeah.
always end up paying for it later on.
Yes. So that's good. Leaving 5 minutes earlier. Yeah. I need to do that. So we're off to the last module, which is for the last module for soft skills training. Module 4 is teamwork and collaboration. So the objectives this module is to go over why teamwork is essential, supporting coworkers, asking for help effectively, and team problem solving. So why teamwork matters. Residents depend on the whole team, not just one individual, because everybody plays a part. Teamwork helps to prevent burnout. Strong teams solve problems faster. Think of a time when a coworker really helped you out. What did they do to make a difference?
This is an old co-worker named Denise. I'm sure she don't mind me using her name. Me and that woman worked well together. And that woman was a worker. You know, it was an old patient named Phil. He passed on to the other side. Me and that woman, we would get Phil and grab that thing and lift him up. And it's like, I knew when I came in, when Denise was on, we was gonna get that guy up in the bed. And you know, but I'm not saying that the other ones didn't do it,
But when she was here,
You knew for sure.
we knew we was
Yeah,
getting filled
yeah,
up in the
yeah,
bed, you
yeah.
know, and I look forward to that.
Yeah,
You know, I
for
look
sure.
forward to working with Denise, you know, and
Yeah.
making up the beds and taking care of Phil and Bill. And it was just a pleasure working with her.
Very good. Yeah, she was a sweetie. Anyone else? Miss
I feel like
Christine?
I've had coworkers I've worked great with, but I have one that I'm really good friends with now. When they hired me, she was she's headstrong, ooh, like a bull. And a lot of the young girls didn't like her, so they would always go back and complain about her. So when they hired me, they said, I think you might be a good match for Diana. I think you and her might be okay for each other. But everybody else thought me and her was going to bicker. They like, oh, I don't know if they're going to get along. Honey, that lady came in there. We got to talking. Before I said to her, I said, look, just show me who I got to take care of. Tell me what they need. And I got the rest. She said, you got it, Chrissy. And she went her way and we met back up and she said, Chrissy, you did your thing, girl. I'm talking about somebody know what they doing. But it ended up coming out, me and her became the best of friends. She's my grandchild's godmother right now.
Wow.
I'm like she said, when Diana came in, honey, I knew
It was gonna be taken
good.
care. Yeah.
We worked great together, great communication. We worked together. We had really bad combative residents. Like they was trying to knock our heads off sometimes.
Yeah.
And me and her would go, we have a game plan walking in. You grab that arm, I'm grab this arm, we're gonna take them, we're gonna choke like this. I love you. So when you
That's
have
good.
a good team, when
Yes.
you all work good together, it's a beautiful thing that makes the shift easier. You know, it makes everything with the job easier because the communication is there, and you don't have to be like, I don't know what this, I don't know, because you're
Right.
all talking to each other and you're all
Right.
getting along. So
That's right.
Teamwork is very important
I
in
agree.
this field.
I agree.
You got to have that.
You do. You absolutely do. It's not just a I, it's a we. It really
It's
is.
a we, yes.
Because it takes everybody to get the job done.
Yeah.
Everybody plays in a role, and it's not just this person over here, it's everybody coming together. I think that's one thing when I worked night shift that I really learned early on in my nursing career was everybody just working together, because on night shift we weren't staffed like they staff people on day shift. It's completely different. So very good. So supporting coworkers, offer help when you see someone might be struggling. Now I know there is one caregiver per shift here at Grace House. However, when the caregiver that's leaving and the caregiver coming on kind of are here for that half an hour to do report and do shift change, and they're also doing med count, it's at that time that you really can support one another, because if there's a resident that might require two people to kind of pull up in bed or turn and reposition, they work really well together. And then the other thing that I would say with that is we all have tasks for each shift that you're supposed to do, as far as cleaning and meal preparation, the dishes, all of that. Yes, everybody should do their work on their shift so that it's not left for the next shift. However, there are those times that, depending on the resident care, you might not get to everything. It's not that you're supposed to leave everything for the next shift, but you might not get to everything. And just having some grace that if it's left over for the next shift, that I'm gonna support my coworker by getting this done because she didn't get time to empty the trash or put the dishes in the dishwasher, but I know she was trying to handle this and that. So just having some grace, saying thank you and recognizing others, and sharing information openly. Okay, woohoo, role play, supporting coworkers. So scenario one, a coworker gets behind on rounds. How do you help? And I just gave some examples, but you can give some more.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just kind of coming in and looking at the priorities of really what needs to be done, and kind of saying, okay, let's divide and conquer here. You know, you are doing this right now, so where can I best support you before you leave to get you out of here quicker?
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
And then, if there's little things like you said, getting dishes and stuff like that, just, leave those, get out of here. You worked hard, and I'll take care of them later.
Yep. Anything else?
She said what I was gonna
Yeah, it goes back to that, do unto others what you would have them do unto you, because if you put yourself in that position, that's something that you probably would welcome another caregiver supporting you in that way. So, very good. So, scenario 2, a coworker helps you. How do you show appreciation?
by saying thank you.
That's a great start. Just acknowledging and saying thank you.
Because,
Absolutely.
You know, a lot of times somebody could be really busy with their own resident, and you may be struggling with yours, so they take their time out and say, let me go help you. I'm going to go help you with this person. Thank you so much, because you took out of your time to come help me. You didn't have to do that.
Absolutely. Any other ways?
Well, she said it.
She said it.
way.
It does. Thank you.
Helping them.
And helping them, that could be a form of appreciation, and sometimes just a note.
Yeah, just
You
say,
know,
thank
just
you so much. Brother.
thank you so much. I see that you always help, and I appreciate it. It means so much.
It does.
Asking for help professionally. So be specific with your requests. Things like, can you help me transfer Mrs. T in 20 minutes? Because you're given what you need, who you need it for, and the time frame. So that's being specific. Not just saying, can you help me with Mrs. T? Well, and I would even take a step further, saying what you need help with. Right there it says, can you help me transfer? So that's the other component too. What do you need help with? Can you help me feed such and such in about 20 minutes? So just being specific, asking respectfully, not as a demand. We're not kids, being respectful that this is another adult that I'm speaking to, and return the favor when possible. Remember what they did for you and say, okay, you know what, she did that, I'm gonna do that one. So that's why I'm saying even though it's only one caregiver per shift, there's still ways that we can help each other as co-workers. And it's happened even with the caregivers on staff now. If there's situations where they may be scheduled for 8-hour shift or a 12-hour shift, if they can't do the whole shift, they know how to talk between themselves and say, well, you know what, I can do that. I can come in. If you work 7 to 3:30, I'll work 3 to 7. So it's a lot of that, which is really good. They do a real good job with that. Partner practice. So practice asking for help clearly and respectfully. And it can be about anything, but just making sure that you're clearly saying it and being respectful when you ask for help. So we'll just do one. So any one of you want to do that? I know it says switch roles, but we don't have to do that. We'll just do one.
Okay. Is there any way you would be able in 20 minutes to come and help me move Mr. D from his bed to his wheelchair in about 20 minutes?
Sure, I can do that.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. Team problem solving. So as a team, there's going to be times that you kind of have to problem solve. You want to first identify the problem, brainstorm solutions together, and agree on a plan and share responsibility. So let's keep going. So activity, example, 2 staff called off. 1 resident needs extra care. Meds are late, meals behind. Plan how to divide tasks as a team. So again, this is a little different just because there's not multiple caregivers on a shift at any one time. But I think the first part of this, if there was a call off, if I send a text message out, a group text saying, hey, I need this 3 to 11:30 shift filled, who can do it, even if it's a part of it. I think a way, what are ways, I won't answer, what are ways that a caregiver could respond to that?
Okay. It's Kellen. Hey, Kellen, we're short of staff tonight. Do you think you can get the meds ready and I'll go fix the meals? Do you think you can do that?
Absolutely. And then once I'm done with meds, I can come and assist you with meals.
Yay! And that could be something done until we get somebody in here to fill the position, you know, the shift. Because there's been times where a caregiver said, well, I can stay here until such and such time until somebody else can come in if they can't come in until 5 o'clock. Well, I'll stay until 5 until that other person can get here. So, good job. So, planning how to divide tasks and support each other. Positive team culture. So, gossip and negativity can break trust. We have to make sure that to create a positive team culture that we respect differences and focus on shared goals. And our shared goal would be to give safe, excellent, I'm not even going to say great, but safe, excellent care to our residents and families and celebrate successes together. Like, I think that is so important to let people know that what you're doing is not going unnoticed. When I first started this job, I think Holly showed me and also taught me how she shows appreciation to the caregivers. It might not happen all the time in this manner, but she would do things like she gave gift cards to the uniform store that was open. I mean, it's closed down now, but that was something that she just did for every caregiver. It was like a $50 gift card. And that's not something she can do on a regular basis, but there's other ways that appreciation can be shown for the successes, the things that, because just people showing up, to me, that's a success. Just people showing up. So share a real example of when you witnessed teamwork and that leading to a positive outcome.
Well, last week I seen when it was the shift change. I seen the one worker come in, and the other woman, it was time for her to leave, and she had to do a diaper change. And she came in and she said, "I'll help you so you could leave at your proper time." And
Okay.
she went down there and helped her.
Okay. That's a good example. And that did leave a positive outcome, I'm sure,
Yeah.
because that showed that she cared about her and her leaving on time.
To
And
get to her family.
Yep. Yep. Anything else? I think knowing everybody is in this together, even when we have the more difficult residents or cases, it can be stressful and it can be very draining sometimes as a caregiver. And I think sometimes, like I said earlier, it's not about gossiping, but just having moments where the caregivers can kind of vent to each other and just, oh gosh, this is what's been happening. That's a way of creating, in my opinion, some positivity, because you're able to kind of release that. It doesn't build up in your system and then come out sideways. You can kind of release it, but to have somebody safe to do that with, in a safe environment to do it in. So, key takeaways. Teamwork makes care safer and less stressful. Supporting each other is part of professionalism, and asking for help shows strength. It really, really does. A lot of times our culture and our society will make you think that if you ask for help, that that's a sign of weakness, when in fact it really is a sign of strength, because you're saying that I don't know everything, nobody knows everything, and I'm lacking in this area, which doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means that I'm not as strong in this area as somebody else. But that shows an incredible strength to say, I need a little help. Any other takeaways that you may have obtained from going through this information on this module? What is one way you can strengthen teamwork on your next shift? Anything? Anybody? I think something that you all alluded to earlier or said, I think just saying thank you. Thank you for what you did this shift. Thank you for doing something that may have been, it may seem small, but thanking the person that was on shift before you, because they did what they did, and now you can do and focus on the things that you need to for your shift. I think that strengthens teamwork tremendously. Okay. Well, thank you all so much for your time
Thank you.
and participation.